Today I'm building the steps for this ground level entry deck, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity to teach you the basics of making stringers. Now there are two main factors to take into consideration when you're laying out your stringer: the rise of the steps and the run. Let's start with the run. Now in this case, because I was building the deck, I had some control over the run. So I'm dictating the run by how wide I want each tread to be. I'm going to use two deck boards. They're each 5.5 inches. So my run is about 11 inches per step. There's going to be 2 steps, so that's about 22 inches. So I built this deck so the rim joist is roughly 22 inches from where I want the front edge of the steps. Now if you were building steps on an existing deck where you had to hit a certain mark, then you need to measure that distance and divide it by the number of steps to determine how wide each tread should be. Now the rise of the deck is the distance from the top of your decking down to whatever your landing is. In this case, I installed some paver stones over several inches of compacted gravel. To determine this height, I'm just going to use my level. I'm going to measure down from the bottom of the level down to the landing, and my measurement is 20 5/8 inches. Now I divide that by 3, and the result of that is about 6 5/8 inches. So now that I've determined the rise and the run, I'm ready to lay out the dimensions on this 2x12 stringer. I'm going to use my framing square. This side will be the rise, this side will be the run. So this edge will be 6 7/8 my rise. I'll hold that point, and then the run is 10 3/4. That's that point. Double check to make sure they haven't changed, and I can mark the stringer. Next, I'm going to move the framing square up and position it so the run intersects the rise line from the previous, and I'm going to set it up just the same way: 10 3/4 run, 6 7/8 rise. Now that we marked the run of the top tread, I'm going to use the carpenter square to extend that rise line down, and that's going to be the back of the stringer. Next, I'm going to mark the rise of the bottom step. Now this sometimes confuses people. Because it's the bottom step, there's no tread under it. So we subtract the thickness of one tread from the rise. So in this case, instead of 6 7/8 inches, the rise of the bottom step will be 5 7/8 inches. Finally, we'll mark the bottom of the stringer, and that's simply a line that's perpendicular to the rise of the bottom step, and we locate that at 5 7/8, the mark we just made. If you're only making 2 stringers, it's easy enough to lay them out individually. But in my case, I'm cutting out 7 small stringers, so I chose to make this template so I can trace them out. Now our stringer's laid out and we're ready to cut it. Now I'm ready to attach them to the deck. First thing I did was measure down the rise of each step 6 7/8 from the top of the rim joist, snapped a line, and that marks the top of all the stringers. Then I attached the stringers using these metal connectors and structural connector screws.